Hey everybody, it's Eric from the Mature Minded Gamers. Today we're covering Picard, Episode 8, Broken Pieces. This episode should be called Answers, in my opinion, because boy do we get a lot of them, which I found very refreshing. Today I got my standard bridge crew with me, Brad and Will.
What up?
Howdy, howdy.
Alright, this episode's going to work a little bit differently than some of the others in the past because they cut from scene to scene so much. We're going to kind of lump everything together in sections. So if you're used to the old format, let us know if you like this format better or the old style. I think this is going to be a little bit easier to keep everything flowing. So we start this episode out with them, the Conclave of Eight, is what I'm going to call them as well. But we also learned that the Conclave of Eight is a reference to a solar system where this planet is located. But there is definitely 8 Tal Shiar hanging out in that circle. I counted them to make sure. And when we zoom in, we find out that we have Commander O as one of them. We also have Narissa, and we have Ramda, who we find out also is Narissa's aunt, who took her and Narek in when their parents were killed. So we see those familiar faces, and we realize that I was a little bit wrong because I know I kind of thought Section 31 was involved here, and I didn't really think Commander O was a Tal Shiar, but or not a Tal Shiar, I said that wrong, a Jat Vosh. But she actually is, as we find out, and we hear a whole bunch of backstory about what is going on. We get the planet that they're on is from a past very powerful civilization they don't know the name of, that basically put this warning out that all artificial intelligent life forms are dangerous, and that was the end of their civilization. And so the Jat Vosh has taken this to heart, and a whole bunch of stuff plays out. So what do you guys think of this whole part of this whole telling of what is going on? Commander O being part of that. I found it really interesting that all those people killed themselves, which they said that at the beginning, but the only one standing was Narissa and her aunt. So what do you guys think here?
Well, the aunt wasn't really standing. I mean, she was trying to rip out her own hair. The only one that was standing is really Narissa. I mean, and she was just kind of out of it. But if you notice, she was the one that wasn't even really apprehensive about grabbing the darn thing. Everybody else was kind of like fearful about it. So I wonder if it had to do with their own insecurities with what they were going into and too much fear, as opposed to Narissa was just like, okay, let's do this. And bam, just grabbed it. And while she had those same horrifying visions, she was able to kind of comprehend them and analyze it a little bit more than the others, I think.
Yeah, do you think that she comprehended it more, or she just dealt with it better? I kind of got the impression that she just processed what was going on and maybe had a little bit more mental fortitude to deal with what she saw, and she was a little less, I don't know, crippled by what she saw, as opposed to that there was at least one Romulan that backed away from it and shot herself in the head right away. I mean, they were definitely dealing with some heavy stuff, but Narissa seemed to just have the guts or the oomph to deal with it all.
Do you think there's any meaning that they were all women?
I never really caught that until you just mentioned that.
Probably, but I don't know. This would be the second group of Romulans that were like matriarchal. So the same group that we met on that planet, the ones that were absolute candor. What were they called?
The Vashti?
Yeah, that's right.
I was going to say, so, so far we've noticed then, I guess, 2 groups, the Vashti as well as the Zat Vash on this planet that, like, as Brad said, I guess we're all female, is that something in Romulan lore? I don't know much about the Romulans, I guess, to know, are the Romulans led more from a patriarchal society?
Not that I remember in anything past Trek. We also did find out that Commodore O is half and half Romulan, half Vulcan, which I don't think we knew that for sure. I think...
Nope, but I called it.
Right, you did. Do you think it's going to have any meaning later on that Narek and Sarissa almost seemed like they were ready to undermine O? Do you think there's another power in play here, or do you think they were just kind of like, if we need to take control, we will?
I think it's that, we can take control, so we will sort of thing. I think that's more indicative of Romulan leadership than anything else. Like, watching some of the episodes with the Tal Shiar, it was sort of dog eat dog, and the strongest survive, and so I think they're just kind of following up with that. And if you think about it, if Narissa was there at the beginning of this, and or maybe not the beginning, but if she was part of the Zat-Vash, then she would have had to indoctrinate Narek. It wouldn't have been something where they were indoctrinated together. So with that, she may have included him with the intentions of sort of overthrowing O and her leadership.
Well, we already kind of see that when O is basically telling him, say, hey, if you're still standing and you can live through this, then you're still part of the Zat-Vash. I mean, I think that's just Romulan society, right?
Any theories on why, when the Borg assimilated the ship that she was on, that it made them go crazy and not being able to control themselves, or whatever happened?
I'm going to honestly say that it's my honest opinion, or my thought or theory on this one, is that if we call back to the very last episode or last two episodes of Voyager, Janeway was ready and willing to inject herself with something that was going to disrupt the collective altogether. And I think that, while, whether or not they knew about that process or whatever, it wouldn't behoove the Romulans to have that strategy in mind to infect themselves to do something like this. So if the Tal Shiar ship was assimilated, then they would infect themselves with something that would then disrupt the Borg.
So you don't think it has anything to do with what she's seen in the Conclave of Eight circle thing?
Oh, I do. I think that's the reason why she would have been prepared to do that.
Oh, okay.
See, I think that the Borg assimilated that Zat-Vash ship and they didn't know. I mean, it wasn't like it was intentional or anything like that. I think that they were trying to reclaim this particular Borg because the Zat-Vash were on the ship, and the Zat-Vash were trying to just reclaim their own. And I think that's the whole reason they're even trying to reacclimate them in the first place. Otherwise, they would have just been like, okay, we're just going to blow it up.
I'm not sure I'm following you there.
So obviously they're reclaiming the Romulans are reclaiming the X-Borg, the EBs, right? So I think that the Zat-Vash are the ones behind the reclamation, the artifact of reclaiming those Borg back into trying to bring them back. I think the Zat-Vash are the ones behind that whole thing to make sure that no one else gets the secrets of the Zat-Vash and discovers that any of them were.
You could be onto something. It doesn't jive with what I think, but that's okay. I think that the Reclamation Project had more to do with the treaty with at least the Federation, if not others, than it had to do with the Zat-Vash trying to protect the anonymity or the identity of anybody that was.
Oh, not necessarily identity, knowledge, and information.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think that their instinct would have told them to eradicate more than it would be to harvest data. Unless there was, I mean, I guess the other thing is they could have been trying to, the Reclamation Project was part of something else, but occupying the cube would be for knowledge and for, trying to find a better weapon against them. But yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't know that that's the direction I think we're heading.
All right, so next up we get Seven coming back and saving Eleanor. It was pretty great to see her back on the cube. I really liked that. Eleanor again was able to, just murder anybody that comes after him. Pretty much, he's just a bad mofu, I think. And then Seven's obviously in there, just not caring either. She seems a little bit concerned about what happened to Hugh, but nothing ever really comes of it. So I don't know if she even really knows that he died. Maybe she just assumes. And then we get her going to the Queen Chamber, and as a last resort, she hooks herself in and becomes the Borg Queen that we all wanted her to be, didn't we, boys?
No.
Really?
Yeah, I did not want her to become a Borg Queen.
Oh, man.
I mean, I thought it was cool the way she hooked up like that, but that's not really what I was looking forward to. I was like on the edge of my seat when that happened, thinking that she was going to get, some part of her was going to get sucked back into the Borg. I mean, I had a feeling it wasn't going to happen, but that's certainly what my guts were were thinking her guts were saying was that she's afraid that if she does do this, that she's going to get sucked back into this and want to start her own little Borg collective. So no, I really wasn't looking for that. I thought maybe it would be something a little more or a little more benign than actually becoming the queen itself. But it was pretty BA the way that it hooked into her spine and gave her complete control. Although the thing that frustrates me is that if she had complete control over the cube, why couldn't she stop the Borg from being vented off the ship? That sort of frustrated me a bit.
Yeah, it seemed weird, but I know why they did that, obviously, because I think she's still going to be the queen of the Borg ship, even though she's not hooked in. I think they're going to create their own little collective, and that's how she's going to help the XBs kind of get back, and herself, because you know how they both kind of seem lost. Like Seven has never really seemed like she knew what she was doing. Like she's lost, and you know she's killing people, and I think that's where this is going to go. I did like how she unjacked at the end and said, no, I have things to do, or she still has things to do, whatever. The Borg Queen basically said that about Seven, So it was almost like she was two different identities there. But I think she's going to take over kind of what Hugh was doing, except obviously be more like a queen and keep them all connected and work through their issues. And who knows? I mean, maybe they'll all join the Rangers.
So I'd like to take a step back to the beginning of this kind of clump of these scenes here when Elnor basically, after 7 to 9 comes in and rescues Elnor, and just the level of emotion that he was showing when he just grabbed 7 of 9 and just like held on to her, and she was like, "It's okay, it'll be okay." I mean, this is a kid that never really had parents, was raised by the Vashti, and never really had someone that's going to show him emotion and love and support. It was always about training and discipline and openness, right? And it was just a dump. I think that he just kind of was like all of his frustrations and fears and everything, just like, oh my gosh, you my savior kind of thing, I just thought that was a pretty powerful scene to show that, and I thought that was pretty awesome.
I did think that hug was very touching. It just shows how he can be very emotional when he needs to be, or he's not afraid to be emotional.
Well, he's just not this killing machine that he's kind of he in his mind thinks that he is. I mean, he's total BA, but in deep down, he's still just a child, What
did you guys think about how she commanded the XBs to get Narissa? I thought that was pretty awesome. How kind of silently took out the her little buddy, and then almost had her, and then she sadly warped out, but I was hoping they would capture her.
Is that what happened? Because I could barely tell. I couldn't tell if I saw some green flash in there, but I wasn't entirely sure.
Yeah, she warped out at the end.
Yeah, I mean, a part of me, even though I was frustrated that all the Borg got sucked off the ship, all the at least still assimilated Borg got sucked off the ship, it was still it was kind of comforting to know that that's the only remaining people on the ship were XBs and not actual full-fledged Borg. I wonder how many there are left. I don't know that we ever got an idea of what the actual population of the XBs were compared to the other Borg, but I felt that was actually pretty sweet. They were a lot more silent and guerrilla-like than they were systematic like the Borg would have been. So that was definitely cool.
So how did she command them, though? I mean, yes, she's hooked up or whatever to the cube, but they're X-Borg. It's not like they have any of their components anymore. So how did they communicate with that? That's what I'm kind of curious by.
I'm still thinking that they have enough of their technology to still be able to communicate as Borg, or I'm wondering if any of them still like what's the word I'm looking for, if they didn't power up in the alcoves, or I bet there was some part of it that was still there. I'm not real sure. I guess that's actually a really good question, but in the moment it didn't feel like something that felt off to me, but now that you mention it does.
No, all the XBs still had implants in them, though. I mean, look at Hugh. He even had some on his face. And every time they showed a picture of one, they always had scars, and a lot of them had little implants left in them. I think on this ship, the Reclamation, they're not necessarily harvesting all the parts off the Borg like we've seen in the Cloud City episode, where the gangsters were removing all the parts, or not gangsters, but whatever they were, that clan that lady was running.
Well, what the hell was Soji doing then? I thought that was the whole point. She was pulling out Borg components and then trying to reclaim them.
Oh, they are pulling off some, but they're not like just basically killing them, scrapping them like they were doing on that planet. They're keeping them alive. That's why we have XVs. Unlike what happened to terrible names.
Yeah, it seems how you just referenced Cloud City and Star Trek podcast.
Oh, what's it called? Free Cloud. Sorry. Cloud City, Free Cloud. Come on. Seriously. So yeah, anyway.
Well, next thing we know, Lando's going to come in, with Lobot,
Right.
He's a Borg. You didn't know that, Brad. He's a Borg.
Boilers.
Icheb, that's his name. They didn't, like Icheb, who got butchered and all of his parts removed. They're not doing that on the Reclamation. All right, so let's move on. Next up, we are back on the ship. We're going to talk about this segment. There's a lot here, too. We'll start out with how razzled Rios was when he seen Dahj teleport back from the planet with Picard. You could definitely tell something was going on there. I had no idea where it was going to lead. But we find out that he's seen her before, or one of her sisters, I suppose, as you want to call her. And we get the whole backstory of the previous ship that he was on, his former captain, what happened, who ordered the hit. Man, way more backstory than I ever would have guessed. We also get all of his hollows together in a room talking. We meet the engineering hollow, who's got a Scottish accent, which I liked. I think a little bit of tribute to Scotty.
I'm thinking that was a lot of bit of tribute to Scotty.
Right.
I didn't pick up on any of that till you just said that.
So we just learned a ton. I love Rios' character. I'm a little bit sad that we lost a lot of the mystery out of it, though I still, you can definitely tell he's having issues. I did like how the hollows seem to be missing information, which they referenced that he had deleted random parts of their memories or something. But we also found out that when he bought that ship or got that ship or whatever, he had a choice, and he chose to have them himself scanned and then basically overlaid onto the hollows, which I found interesting. But I liked almost every one of those characters, really. I like the different personalities, and man, let's talk about how good of an actor he is to be able to do basically 6 different versions of himself. That's got to be pretty challenging for him, and I think he does a great job.
When I first saw that, as far as like Soji coming on, and there was like the audio effect of him kind of being siloed or whatever, and just kind of having tunnel vision and his heart racing and stuff, I was thinking that it was like a former, like the body type or her image, whatever, was like a former lover of his. And I was thinking maybe it was, maybe a shipmate that was a synth that he didn't know was a synth. I was thinking it was going to go in a completely opposite direction, and he thought, and maybe that's why she left. But what they did is they gave it a lot more story to it. And I absolutely loved it. I love how it wasn't just a simple fix. It was, there was another captain involved, and how he left with Starfleet with that. And I thought that was really cool. I liked how they brought in his relationship, like with a father figure, and how Starfleet betrayed him as well, and how O manipulated him and stuff. I thought that was really good. But you're right. The way that he portrayed those 3 characters was fantastic. Fantastic job. I like the way that Rafi was trying to figure it all out and put pieces together by asking each of them questions, and then finally got them all in the same room together. I thought that was great.
Rafi almost seemed, you think you're crazy for years, and that's what everybody tells you. And then she's almost getting, proven. Like she was right this whole time. It was all a conspiracy. And you can kind of see her with her hand movements. I thought she did a great job with that. Like almost like, oh my God, I've been right. I'm not crazy. I thought she did a good job.
And that brings me to the point that the next point I was going to talk about was last week. One of the things that you mentioned, Eric, was on the screen for, I think it was last week's episode. You mentioned on the screen for the Romulan communique when she was trying to break into the computer and stuff, you saw those rings, right? Which was Soji's necklace. Do you remember talking about that?
Oh, yeah.
And then, oh my God, all of a sudden, that is something that she brings up. She talks about this design that she discovered inside the computer. So it wasn't coincidental, and it obviously played into what we were looking at with that Ring of 8 or whatever. And I just want to give you, man, a huge shout out to you for calling that one. I thought you were maybe onto something, but I didn't know how big it was going to be for it. And wow, great job on that, man.
All the XBs were doodling that, the Romulan XBs. And
really?
Well, you know what? You just made me think about this. And Sarissa said that ship that they captured was full of Jot Vosh. So they probably all knew what was going on. I bet you that is what broke the Borg cube. So somehow that must be something that breaks AI or something to that effect.
So again, do you think that the Zot Vosh, them formulating that Zot Vosh, is what shut it down, and that's why they're going in to reclaim it? I'm telling you, I think it has something to do with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know fully why they're there. They almost seem like they're ready to cut their losses, though. So I don't really think they're there just to save those former Jot Vosh. But maybe you're right. Maybe they're trying to save that symbol. But I don't know why that'd be that important.
Right. So how many of those Zot Vosh were on that planet at the beginning with O? Wasn't there 8 of them?
8, and only 3 walked away. It looked like.
What I'm getting at, it's the conclave of 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about 8 moons,
8 suns.
Oh, 8 suns. Excuse me. So there's something with the number of 8. And I think that's going to, I think it's going to be a running theme in the next couple episodes for some answers.
Yeah, it definitely could. Because I did find it interesting that there was 8 of them. So because we thought the conclave of 8 was obviously going to be 8 people. Then we find out it's really a planet that has 8 suns. And so we find out that, and then we get a picture of them on the conclave, and there's 8 of them. So yeah,
right.
And it's definitely going to play a big, which 8's a big number in most mythologies. So.
Right, but then also Soji's necklace turned sideways is an 8. Just so many different cool things in that.
Mm-hmm.
Little hidden touches.
Right. So let's talk about the box that Rios opens. It has all of his mementos. He's got his Starfleet pips. Looks like he's got a bunch. You think that's him and his former commanders? That's the only thing I can really come up with.
I thought that was the captain. You talking about the picture?
No. Well, I mean, no, I'm talking about the pips. He had a whole bunch of his Starfleet command pins, or whatever you want to call them. Pips is what I always called them.
Oh, I thought that was maybe just the different ranks as he's moving up.
Well, there's a bunch there. It looked like it was enough for 2 people. Yeah.
So I bet it was his captain's if it was his and
right. That's what I was thinking too. When I first seen the ones that weren't filled in, man, my first thought was, oh, they're Section 31, but they're not. They're just not filled in. But I got excited for a second. He had a skull of some little animal, it looked like. I don't really know what importance that would play. It was a cigar box. He had a cigar in there. I didn't really pull any other trinkets out. Did you guys find anything interesting there?
No, I didn't really see anything inside the box that.
Yeah, I was going to say not really. I didn't see anything that jumped out at me.
Do you think anything with the music he was playing had anything to do?
Nah, just nostalgia.
Right. It's good music, though. Let's talk a little bit about Dr. Agnes. So she comes completely clean. We were right. Raffi and Rios knew what was going on. You guys were also right. She didn't really try to kill herself. She did just try to get rid of the trackers, which she succeeded in. She comes completely clean. I think she's squared back up. I think she's a good member of the crew now. What do you guys think? In your eyes, is she back to being honorable?
No, I don't think I trust her yet.
Yeah, there's still something about her. I think she's too smart to be totally converted back, if that makes sense. I think that she knows the gravity of the situation from that vision, and I think she's still, a certain part of her is going to be like, oh, if this is going to come to fruition, I need to be the one that does something.
But she had that nice one-on-one with Soji. Like, I felt like that was really heartfelt. I think she was faking it. She really seemed to be like in love with it.
No, I mean, I don't necessarily think she was faking it, but I don't know that I trust her yet.
Well, I mean, I think that she's still enamored because that was her passion for the longest time. I mean, you could still appreciate the atomic bomb as far as like the beauty of the design and everything, but the horror that it can cause is still horrifying. And
what do you think Jean-Luc Picard's meeting with the head of Starfleet, I think, right?
Yeah, she's the commandant of Starfleet.
What do you guys think about that? I thought that felt weird and out of place. Why is he contacting her? Is he trying to subvert what he's really doing, or was he legit trying to? Do you still think Starfleet's good? Is that what you guys think?
No, I think Starfleet was going to come in and take the synth away and blow it up.
I think that he's just looking for additional support, that he's got more information about what happened on Mars, and he's looking to get backup.
But he knows about Commander O at this point.
Yeah, but the Commandant isn't Commander O.
Right, but he went to the whatever her name was, the Commandant, whatever.
Karen or something like that.
He went to her first, and that's kind of what got the ball rolling. He's got to have it pieced together that she's the one that told Commander O.
Yeah, but she's in cahoots with O, so...
Well, I know, but we know that, but Picard doesn't necessarily. But I think he's put the pieces together. So I think he knew something was going on, and I think that's why he did it. I think he's got a plan, but I don't know what it is yet. Because otherwise, I don't know. I mean, at this point, you can't trust Starfleet or anybody. In my opinion,
that's what I'm trying to say is the fact that just because Picard knows it and he has quote unquote proof doesn't mean that she's going to allow that information to get out there without just blowing it up in the first place. Because we already know at this point how corrupt Starfleet is, and we don't know, how far it's spread. You know what I mean?
I don't know that I think that Starfleet is completely corrupt yet. I don't.
What?
I mean, you're basing that off of a couple of bad decisions. They even said today that the attack on Mars was orchestrated by the Romulans, and that Starfleet is basically operating from a place of fear. That's why I don't think they're corrupt. I just think that I don't think the Starfleet as a whole is corrupt. I think she's genuinely sending Picard backup. I think that she realizes how deep the creek is right now, and that he needs support.
All I can say is I was hoping the Defiant was one of those ships and Worf was on board. Either that or the Enterprise was one, and we had Captain Crusher come in.
I think we are very likely to see LaForge. I think Geordi will pop up in this last episode in some manner, and maybe even Worf.
That'd be awesome. I mean, we saw that set photo, so you could be right.
Wishful thinking. There's no way. I'm 99.129% sure that we're not going to get Geordi or Worf in this.
All right. Well, we know who will be buying the beer next week. So we see some really cool stuff where Soji takes over the ship very quickly. Rios comes on.
Hold on. Let's go back real quick. So, the Commodore is telling him, or what rank is she?
Commandant.
Is that who? Not O, but the other lady, the one he was talking with.
The O is Chief Security. She's Director of Security.
I thought she was Commodore.
No, I don't believe so.
Anyway, so he was talking to her though, and she's specifically telling him to stay at Deep Space 12, right? And saying, I'm sending the ships there. And later on in the episode, I mean, that just kind of just goes to the wayside. I mean, with where the Federation is being backed up to, you got to wonder why he didn't want to try to stay there and wait for backup.
Well, the way they played it was definitely Dodge that forced them to, force their hand. But, I mean, Picard was all behind her, though, and even said, we've tried Maddox's way and we've tried your way, and now we're going to do Dodge's way. I don't know. It just felt weird. I think there's going to be something that happens next episode. It's all going to play out. We're going to understand why everything happened that way, but I don't know if we know yet. But I did think that scene was fantastic, where she is taking over command of the ship, and Rios comes in and sings this little lullaby. That first time we've heard about him having a mother. I mean, obviously we knew that, but we didn't know that. Obviously he must have had a mom long enough for him to know a tune that she sung to him. And that unlocks the system on the ship, which I thought was really cool. Unlocks the security system. And then it gets him access back. And then they played it really well. There wasn't like any hard feelings, I don't think. Everybody understood where everybody's situation was coming from. Especially when Picard sat down to kind of make everything happen. And he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. You guys have any thoughts on that bridge?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. But at the end, when they enter that wormhole, then is it Narek?
Yeah, I'm almost positive it's Narek following him through that transwarp conduit.
Right.
Thank you. I forgot to mention that.
So, I mean, obviously he's got it. You got the Borg coming in. You got the Romulans coming in. She's got control of the Borg cube. They're, in self-repair. I mean, I think it's all going to come to a head in the next couple episodes. I'm kind of curious, and not just the next episode, but I'm curious about season 2 already. It's almost as if they're wrapping up everything in a neat little bow and they're going to call it an end. I kind of wonder what the cliffhanger is going to be.
I wasn't really thinking what's going to happen at the end. So, man, it could go a lot of ways. Like, Jean-Luc could come back and take over the Federation again and make them whole, or back to the old school Federation that we all know and love, get rid of the corruption maybe. Or I can see him dying, like we talked about earlier on in the season. He may only be here for one season. He may sacrifice himself at this end. He's getting old as an actor. Who knows how much he wants to actually do here. And I feel like we have a good base now. This show could run without him. I mean, it'd be hard, but I think we have enough interesting characters, and they could take the whole 7 Borg cube thing off on its own path if they want to. Have them join it. They can definitely go with Rio's story and all that. So who knows? We could get Captain Dodge and her AI friends on a ship.
That again is another one of my preseason thoughts, was that Picard was only going to be in this for a season, maybe 2, before he ducked out, and Picard was just the name of the show and less about the actual man leading the show. So I want to put another feather in that cap and say that I think that that's probably what's going to happen.
I think he's going to become head of Starfleet, and he's going to be more like in Stargate, when it didn't have MacGyver.
Jack O'Neill.
Jack O'Neill is one of the main characters. Richard Dean Anderson is one of the main characters, but more of one of like the support or whatever. I wonder if he's going to become more of like a communication base, and it's going to go back to a Starfleet show with more Picard, not really in the front of the action, but more behind the scenes kind of thing.
It definitely could. I don't know that that was my initial theory anyway. And so I'm totally on board with that, except that I think we need a stronger crew. I think we're missing something for that to take place yet.
Yeah. LaForge.
Geordi LaForge and Worf.
Oh, geez. Now that you guys are dreaming, it's not going to happen.
Oh, I know. We need Tasha Yar back.
That's definitely not going to happen.
As far as next week's episode, I think we're going to see a lot of conflict. I think we're going to see some more questions being answered, with people getting to finally see each other and talk and meet each other that we necessarily haven't seen come together yet. Like, I think we're going to see more Picard interacting with Narek and Narissa. What do you think is going to happen next week? We obviously know the ship goes down.
I mean, we're gonna get to that planet. We're gonna get to Soji's home planet. We're gonna meet a lot of the other synths. We're gonna get an idea for the civilization they had. She asked the question, or Jurati asked the question at one point in time, do you think that they hate us? And Soji says she doesn't think so, but she doesn't know so. And so I think that there's going to be a little bit of a reckoning with the synths and what happened on Mars, and the ban from them from that point forward. I think there's still something that Maddox was burning a candle for. So I don't know. I'm thinking there's going to be some kind of reckoning with that. I think that Narek's in a world of hurt. I'd be surprised to see if he made it through the season after the next couple of episodes. I think he did a lot of damage to Soji's mental state, and I bet she's going to be the one to kill him, if not next episode, then in episode 10. And I'm expecting that we're going to see. Now this is where my crazy theory comes in. I think we're going to see Brent Spiner next episode as Data.
I can honestly see that with you.
Yeah, I agree. That is less of a far-fetched theory than Data and Worf, Worf and LaForge.
So do you think that there's still synths on that planet? I mean, why do you think that the sisters have been sent out? And why were they on the reclamation?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, why do you think they were sent out, like to the reclamation, to Earth? Why were they
find information? I think they were sent out a lot of the same ways that Odo was sent out, as from the Dominion and Deep Space Nine. They sent a couple of people out with as sleeper agents and wanted to find information. I 100% believe that that's a planet full of synths right now. Maybe not full of synths, but there's definitely more than a handful.
You got to wonder how Maddox found it, though. If no one else is able to find it, how did Maddox?
Oh, I don't think Maddox found it. I think Maddox seeded it.
Like, created the planet?
No, I think that he created a couple of synths that created a couple of synths that created a bunch of synths. I think this is, the whole the butterfly effect sort of thing, that 2 became 4, became 16, became 100 and some odd, you know what I mean? Like, exponentially grown from there. I think that they've just started to build themselves out. I mean, Okay, so now it's sounding a lot like Battlestar Galactica. So, and that very well could be the case. I mean, it's sort of a trope that I think could be reused in multiple sci-fi franchises and still work out really well. But that's kind of maybe that's what I'm hoping for, is something that parallels Battlestar Galactica. In that case, I think I'll probably be disappointed if it actually happens. But I think that's probably what I have in mind.
Well, I think your timeline is off, because I thought that, from what I was able to gather, and I could be wrong on this, I thought that those synths came traveling out, or contacted, and then they died or whatever, and then Maddox left when the Romulan thing happened, or the Mars plantation attack, found that planet and found that race because he knew they existed to continue his work, because I thought what Agnes said. Because he knew they existed, so he went there to continue his work and to learn more about them. And
I took that as he fled to that planet after the ban, and then things started happening. Then the envoy from that planet came out with Jana and whatever the name of the other one was called, Burning Flower or Pretty Flower or whatever it was, and that's when Rios did everything he was talking about. I thought that was after Mars, but I could be wrong.
Well, if you look at the ships that are coming at them next episode, they look like giant flowers, which I was trying to think if that played into anything from Data's past, but I couldn't think of anything.
What was the origami thing? And I thought it was an origami thing that he left on the little girl's bedstand. Wasn't it a little origami thing? Remember that, that his pen pal?
Vaguely, but not enough details. All right, I think that wraps it up. Is there anything else you guys want to mention about this episode?
Show's getting better and better. I'm loving it.
I thought this was a great episode. I still liked last week's episode better, but it was more for the nostalgia moment, All right, everybody, thanks for checking out our podcast covering Star Trek Picard, Episode 8, Broken Pieces. You can check out all the rest of our content on our website, maturemindedgamers.com. We do board games, video games, and much more. Thanks for listening, and have yourself a great day.